Hello, beautiful beings, and welcome back to Inspired Awakening. It is episode 28 of Inspired Awakening, and I wanted to answer the 20 most common questions about spiritual awakening. I have a list based on research about the most common questions about spiritual awakening, and as a channeler, I want to answer these questions because this past June, I celebrated 5 years of my awakening, my awakening anniversary. Throat chakra is beginning to open now. I celebrated 5 years of my awakening journey, 3 years since my first channel text. So this year has been like some milestones for my spiritual awakening. So I thought it was fitting to answer these questions. So first and foremost, what is spiritual awakening? That's the number one. Should I go in? I'll just go in order because it's not in any particular order. It's just the 20 most that I have found to answer. So what is spiritual awakening? Whew. Let's see. Spiritual awakening is when there's a stirring of the soul. It's when you start to become aware of your soul and your spiritual body system. It's when you start to become aware of life beyond the veil. It's when you start to it's like the mask is lifted. The veil is lifted. You are able to see things from higher perspectives, from different perspectives. You are able to understand things a little bit more and see the bigger picture. It is almost like the rug of the materialistic and egoic and capitalistic world is pulled out from under you, and you are forced to pay attention to the reality of everything around you, the reality of nature, the reality of connection to the soul, connection to source. You are no longer, once you start it, even if you try to forget, you're no longer able to go back to the hamster wheel and the rat race of life. You're not able to go back fully. You're always going to have the knowing, you're always going to have the understanding of the world beyond the veil. You're always going to have the understanding of spirit, of angels, of everything that came to you during your spiritual awakening. It is the reawakening of your soul, because when we incarnate, and I'm working on writing something about this to kind of explain this a little bit more, working on a book about it, to tell it in an engaging way, that when we are born, we're aware. Like when we incarnate into the physical, we're the new little babies, we're very aware of everything. We're still awake, we haven't fallen asleep yet. And about, like, for me and my personal experience, it probably would have been around the age of like 3 or 4 where I fell asleep because my abilities were suppressed. I was seeing like full on ghosts. Like, not ghosts, but I was like, that's what I thought it was when I was a kid. I didn't know. Actually, they would come to me and I would get out of bed and I felt very safe with them and I knew them and I would talk to them. Later I learned it was just like higher beings, not necessarily a departed loved one from the family lineage, but I knew them, and I would get up and I would go to the same spot and I would talk to them. And it's something that I did so much that my now estranged father had night terrors, and I didn't know about that. He would sleepwalk. So I think one time it just happened that he ended up sleepwalking at the same time that I was out of bed, and because I would sneak out of the room. I shared a room with my parents, so I'd sneak out and I would go to the same spot, and he caught me out, and he said, "I told you not to," like, he was like yelling at me, and like when he would sleepwalk, his voice would sound almost like, I don't want to say demonic, but there was definitely something going on there that was also scary. There was 2 different things going on, and I always remember when now these past 5 years that I am able to remember everything about that experience, is that it seemed like the angels and the divine beings were trying to protect me. It always seemed like they were trying to warn me about something. They were trying to remind me of things, but it always kind of seemed like they were trying to warn me about something. I always wonder about that, because the way that his voice would sound, it wasn't his voice. It was completely somebody else's. And this is like, I experienced that as a kid. My mom and brother also experienced hearing that, and witnessing that. It was very scary. And I felt like my angels were coming to me and trying to protect me for as long as they could. But I had a psychic suppression, and I remember I felt like this sadness. And you do feel like that's the first separation. You suppress your abilities, you suppress the ability to connect, and then you slowly just start to fall asleep, and that's when the ego awakens. And the spiritual awakening is almost like not the silencing of the ego, but the taking back control of the wheel. And releasing shame, doubt, fear. It's the starting of your healing. Healing and spiritual awakening go hand in hand. And your spiritual awakening journey is a journey. You're still going on it. You will still awaken to more things, still discover more things. And with the healing journey, it's also technically never done, because you will experience triggers that you will be tested on how you're handling it. So it is a little bit more complicated than just like, okay, this is what it is. Because I guess if I were to like simplify it into a sentence, it would be like, the spiritual awakening is when you reawaken to the same knowing that you had when you were born. In the physical, like you will reawaken to your highest self, like you're aware of your highest self. Let's see. How do I know if I'm experiencing a spiritual awakening? I feel like I kind of, in a way, answered that. But you would know because you would go through a period of like dark night of the soul, disillusionment. You would just be more aware. You would be more aware. It's a heightened awareness. It's very kind of scary. Oh, not Siri. Triggered it. It's very kind of scary almost when I first noticed it happening, when everything started to seem brighter. Everything started to seem clearer. Everything was more vivid. Everything was more tangible. Everything was more in the moment. And that's kind of that feeling. You start to have that feeling, and it's kind of like when it starts happening, when it's almost like, I remember I would say like this sentence I'm about to say when I was younger to myself and to others. I would say, I'm just trying to get through. If I just get through this, I'll just get through this, and I'll just get through this. And I was very just like very much like, I'm just trying to get through until I get to, I don't know what I was trying to get to, but I was like 7, 8. It might have been because of my parents' divorce and going back and forth. And I didn't like that. But I always felt like I was just trying to get by, to get to something. But I didn't know what that something was. And that feeling stops. The spiritual awakening, it stops. You start to, it brings you back to life. Like it pulls you out of feeling like you have no purpose, because you start to remember. It pulls you out of feeling like, what is the meaning of life? Because you understand that the meaning of life is different for everyone. And you start to figure out yours. Trying to like explain how I felt. It's like you start trusting yourself more, and you're open to connection, and you start believing in miracles. I'd say like hope returns. For me, right before my awakening, I lost hope. So actually, as of when I'm recording this video, not when this video comes out, but as of when I'm recording this video, the place I was in 5 years ago, I was running like a chicken with my head cut off. I was angry at the weather. I was angry at everything. I didn't understand what was going on, and I was really trying to build a life that I knew deep down inside didn't feel right. I think it's the first time I said that out loud. I think I know that I was 16 and I felt on some level that everything that I was doing wasn't worth it. I really lost a lot of hope. And when my awakening began, the hope returned. I think a simple answer to that, you would know when hope returns. When hope returns, you know. So, I was like, speaking of hope returning, one of my friends who was with me, like through it all, she just texted me while I was talking about that. I was thinking about her. Very interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah. Also your relationships, that's actually another point to make. Your relationships start to change. And you feel more capable of letting go of the ones that don't resonate with you because you know how valuable your energy is. You have a knowing of the value of your energy, and I've been learning that, and it's not something that like happens overnight and you honor it right away. It's something that you learn to honor, but you start to become aware of it, and you start to become aware of things that you were not aware of before. With that particular friend, we've been friends for 10 years, and I think about how our awakenings happen so, like, we always would catalyst each other, and when I started to learn the value of energy and the value of quality, filling my circle with the quantity after my awakening didn't seem like something I wanted to do. Like, I would rather have 3 close friends and have that quality of connection where I can be myself. And I went through that journey with awakening. You go through that journey of discovering who really does allow you space to be who you really are. So there is so much just more awareness and understanding and knowing of things. What are signs of spiritual awakenings? I feel like I'm answering it. These questions are all like kind of related. But what did I notice? I want to think of like concrete things that I noticed. I'm feeling the urge to pick up a crystal from behind me. Let's see. Opalite. Just all of a sudden I just felt like tension behind my ear. I mean, I'm clairaudient, maybe going through a clairaudient upgrade. All of a sudden. Because I'm trying to just like remember and connect to my highest self and be like, can you remind me what did I notice? I noticed the world's kind of things becoming more tangible, things being in more awareness, for sure. I noticed a peace with nature. That's a really big sign. I noticed a peace with nature. I noticed like a release of stress about nature and about weather and about just like everything. And I also started to notice like a release of tension around expectations. A big sign was like I just felt like you feel a different perspective. Like you feel like you can see things from a different perspective. And that really promotes a releasing of expectations. I started to feel like physically I went through like I got sick, but not like sick, it was surface level sick. So it was one of those things where it's like, I would, test, do I have any like sickness? And all the tests would be like negative, nothing. But I'm like, I have a cough, I have sinuses. I was experiencing ascension symptoms, my body was changing. And I remember it was like for a week, I felt that way, kind of feeling that way a little bit right now. Especially like, definitely with like clairaudiency expanding because of where the tension is. But I was feeling it a lot, and it was telling me something. So what happened, this is actually very interesting. I'll share this story because I think this is the best way I can explain like the signs. It's different for everyone, but I will say, like, yeah, you'll notice angel numbers, you'll notice like feathers, you'll notice like flowers more, you'll notice colors more, you'll start to understand signs. you can actually like set signs. I feel like with my spirit team, at the beginning of my awakening journey, they had me establish signs for specific things that I know. And I'll tell this story first. It was funny. I had a bumblebee as one of my signs. And I was like, okay, this is cute, because I was starting to understand my soul more. So obviously my soul, it is very much an affinity to the sun, and so I wanted anything and anything like yellow related to the sun, sunflowers, all the things, anything and everything like yellow that I could think of that I liked. I didn't particularly like bumblebees, but it was very funny because I think I was maybe 4 when I accidentally pet a bumblebee. I went to go touch a flower, and this is a feeling of like of having that peace with nature that I lost when I fell asleep. And that, I feel like that was a moment where I fell asleep as a child. I remember that because I went to go pick a flower and I touched something and it was fuzzy and I had no reaction. No reaction. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then I told the teacher, I was at preschool, and the teacher said, oh, it was a bumblebee. I was like, oh, bumblebee? Should I be scared of this? And the way that they reacted, oh, you're such a tough cookie, you're okay, you're safe. So then I reacted. I think that's the moment I lost my peace with nature. But I set a sign. I was like, for some reason I wanted my sign to be a bumblebee. And I was sitting outside with my mom, and the bumblebee, it was behaving not normal. It started like flying around the door. It was like, it wouldn't leave. And it wouldn't leave until I figured out why it was there. So I spent forever like trying to connect, trying to hear the message, trying to understand. It opened, for me, it opened my clairaudiency. That was like one of my natural gifts as a soul. And it was fascinating. But also my mom was screaming, change the sign, because like it really wouldn't leave. And the sign was for me, it wasn't for her. So she was having collateral damage of it where she couldn't go inside, and it was forcing me to heal that with nature. So you'll really sign, you will notice a healing with nature. I was gonna, what was the other story that I had on tip of my head about what happened? Maybe that was the story that was meant to come through, because now I'm forgetting what I was going to say. Oh, yes, with the throat. So my throat, I was having like issues with my throat, and I had issues with my throat since right before my now estranged father moved out. It was when the fighting was getting bad and he was yelling and screaming a lot and creating issues. It started then. So again, it started around that like age of 4. That's something where when we fall asleep. And I actually watched it happen with one of my little cousins now. He's 5, but I saw the change. I saw when he started to become more human. It's noticeable now. It's very fascinating. But I had like, I think the only way to explain it would be chronic strep throat. I mean, I was getting strep throat every other month. Even when I had my tonsils removed, it didn't help. I didn't stop getting strep throat until I stopped visitation with my dad when I left him, which I celebrated 10 years of that this year, of standing up for myself and using my voice, which also I'm putting that story into some book. I'm sure actually by the time this video comes out, that book is probably published, so check the description. It was like Awakening the Channel or Within, so it's most definitely published by the time this video comes out. Check the description. But I just, all the time, and once I stopped visitation with him, the strep throat stopped, because it was really my throat chakra that was going through a lot of pain because I wasn't speaking. So I had an issue I was not talking about with now estranged cousins, and specifically what one of them did. And my throat was burning, and because I was receiving the message, you need to let this connection go, because they were not going to have a relationship with me unless I decided to go back to visitation with my father. At this point I was 16, so I was like, I made this decision when I was 11. I left. I chose to have a connection with you guys. You have a one-track mind of wanting to fix your reputation. I get it. I don't care about that. I care about my safety. But I was receiving the message that I needed to let it go, but I didn't want to. And my throat was burning, burning, burning. It was constantly burning. And the day that I sent the message, and I was like, okay, I cannot ignore this anymore. I started reading cards. Actually, the deck that I was reading is a part of holding up the camera right now. I was using empowerment cards, and I kept getting the same cards, the same message. My guide of the cosmic heart telling me, you need to do this. And I felt so much resistance. Finally, I sent the message, and I let it go. And then my throat stopped burning. Like the next morning, I woke up, and it was fine. Those types of things will happen, where the blockages, once you started healing a little bit, then the blockages are going to become more noticeable. And you know that it's telling you something. But at the time, I didn't understand it. Now I do. So retrospect. How can I start my spiritual awakening journey? I feel like it finds you. I don't think it's something that you start. It's something that it finds you. It's, if you're asking that question, you've already started, is what I would say. Because if you're questioning, if you're asking why, if you're seeking knowledge, if you're seeking higher understanding, if you're seeking enlightenment, your awakening journey has already begun. If you're asking that question, you've already started. What are the stages of spiritual awakening? It's different for every single person. I think I've gone through maybe 7 Dark Night of the Souls, even after I started channeling. Even after I started channeling. I was recently in one. A year ago, by the time this video comes out, I was in one for a little while. It's just different. For me, I started, and I'm having it now as I'm recording this, even now, it's almost like a new fear is wanting to be developed. It's very interesting, because I moved. So I moved back to Greece, back to my land of my ancestors. And I've been having nightmares about being forced to go back to the States. Nightmares. Because for me, I started to feel the disalignment that Greece is where I'm in alignment. It's where my family is, the family that I have. And it was very lonely, even though I have some great friends there. It was very lonely. And I started and my guides told me that this is a new fear that's starting to be developed that I need to release. And it's in my dreams. It's telling me, nightmares tell you what's out of alignment. It's telling me that I'm feeling this way because I have created something that I love. And because now I'm resonating in love so much, the ego wants to create fear to try and drain my energy. I had many meditations and just healing sessions just working with Archangel Raphael. Fully just sleeping at night connecting to Archangel Raphael, waking up in the morning connecting to Archangel Raphael. I wanted to get this situation dealt with. Because it's that when you start to get to that state of creating what you wanted to create and manifesting what you wanted to manifest, then the ego notices that you're in this state of love and wants to create fear. So you're still going to go through tests. It's really person specific. I chose to make a big move and follow my soul, and so now I have different tests in my spiritual awakening than somebody else. It's specific to the person. There aren't specific stages. Dark Night of the Soul is something that happens. It's like a spiritual depression, but it's also the time for healing. It's shadow work. I actually see the power in it, because in that Dark Night of the Soul, you are forced to deal with the demons inside. You got to deal with the skeletons in the closet. You have to deal with your shadow. You gotta transmute. You gotta reconstitute. You gotta integrate with your inner child. You have to heal things. And I've had it in regards to things from my ancestry. And it can be something that is difficult to process sometimes. Because you think oh, I went this far in my journey, I shouldn't be experiencing these things. And then you are. It's part of the journey, and everyone's journey is different. So I can't give a specific answer to that. How do I deal with fear during spiritual awakening? My clairaudiency is telling me you don't. You don't deal with it necessarily. You work to overcome it. You work to choose love. Fear is the biggest test for the soul. I say that because, especially as a channeler, I experienced a lot of fear, a lot of doubt, a lot of skepticism of myself and what I do. Even though I have seen that what I do is real. Like, I've seen it. Like, after every channeling I do in person, I offer a hug to the client. And one specific woman, she was older, a beautiful sage, beautiful sage elder, and she had this like block in her since her husband's death. And it was my first experience with like channeling the guardians of the veil and allowing them to guide me through mediumship while channeling. So they're channeling, they're delivering the messages, and in the background they're showing me what they're doing. And for me, I feel like as of this time, that's the only way that I'd be able to do mediumship. And afterwards, when she said like how much everything was exactly like, how could you have known that? I'm like, I don't know how I could have known that. I don't know. It wasn't me. I was channeling. And I hugged her and I could feel like this sense of relief on her heart. I don't remember everything that came out of my mouth. I was channeling, so I don't remember everything. But seeing on her, the amount of times I've opened my eyes and seen the person crying and it's healing tears affirms to me what I'm doing. It's just having to have faith and trust the universe. Ask the universe to show you that it's real, that it's all real, and it will. And that's why, like, whenever anybody says, anyone with who has ignorance or skepticism or just closed-mindedness says something that what I'm doing is wrong, I hold on to those moments of confirmation. Like when I opened my eyes and had that experience with that client, and I could feel the healing. Like I could feel it. It's just about remembering, and I've had that happen since moving here too, where if I start getting angry or upset or afraid about something, for every feeling of fear, I think of two feelings of love. So I started feeling a feeling of fear about just not being able to adjust to the change. And then I thought of two feelings of love about how I have already adjusted. And it's just, I guess, always choosing love, and when you feel moments of fear, reminding yourself of two things. I do that because it's the more that you are reminded that the positive things and the loving things are stronger, they are stronger, it's a stronger frequency, the less impactful fear is on you. I want to make sure that I'm still in time, because I feel like I spent so much time in the earlier questions. How does spiritual awakening affect relationships? It changes them. I feel like I kind of talked about that a little bit. It changes them. It changes them a lot. But like my best friend from 5th grade, still best friends. My two friends from when I did theater and speech, and when I used to be involved in that path for life. We separated. We didn't talk for a few years, and now we're back. Like, it's the ones that are the relationships that are meant to be there will be there, and the ones that aren't will leave, and you will eventually one day feel peace with that. With romantic relationships, I've experienced a few breakups. Now I'm starting to feel like better, trying to meet people and be myself and be my authentic self. Find the people that make you feel safe enough to be all of who you are. For me, two of my close friends they're newer friends, why I fell platonically in love with them, like a friendship love, was because they allowed me to be both sides of me. The me that is a card reader, is a channeler, is, you know, does light work. And the part of me that is just goofy and funny and just like my personality, that like how I am. That I don't always show that. I mean, I sometimes do, but just like myself. Yeah. Just allowing me to be myself, and then also be the light worker and the channeler. And I just say the relationships that are meant for your highest good will stay, and they will come back to you. My two friends from like theater and speech and all of that, when I lost touch with them, we didn't talk. I always wondered what happened, specifically one of them. I thought maybe she doesn't like me anymore, and oh my gosh, like when that friendship came back, I realized why there was that time where we were not talking. It's not because we were mad at each other, we just drifted away, and when we came back together, it was the perfect timing. And we got to experience so much together. I got to do like, one of the first card readings she ever experienced was from me. I got to watch her fall in love with someone who treats her so good. So I promise you, from experience, if you lose friendships in your awakening, if they're meant for you, they'll come back. And they do. They do. Oh, they do. And I have evidence of that. In my inner circle, I got evidence of that. And it's beautiful when it happens. So, I needed to remember that. You need to remember that. It has such a positive impact. It really does. Because things aren't superficial anymore. Things are deeper. They feel so much like more meaningful. So what is the role of meditation in spiritual awakening? Helps you connect to source and helps you connect to your soul. And it's not something you need to do every day, but I recommend once a week. How can you stay grounded during spiritual awakening? You will have a healing with nature, so that will help. Just connecting with nature once a day, fresh air, does wonders. What is the difference between spiritual awakening and enlightenment? I don't think there is a difference. They are two versions of the same thing. Sorry, I didn't expect to get so emotional. Wow. Opalite. Doing wonders. They're two things that are related. Your spiritual awakening leads you to enlightenment. They're related. You go through your spiritual awakening, then you experience enlightenment. They are similar. The awakening is the beginning. The enlightenment is the path that you stay on. Once you've started that awakening, the spiritual awakening journey turns into your enlightenment path, your path of enlightenment. How can I overcome spiritual blockages? Through love, through connection. See how emotional I got thinking about my friends? Yeah, it's through connection. It's through allowing yourself to feel your emotions. Oh, that was a transformative experience for me once I actually was able to feel emotions that I didn't allow myself to feel. Allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to process your emotions and understand why they're there. What is the importance of self-love and spiritual awakening? Because we all have experienced psychic suppression in some way. That's why we fell asleep. So we were taught to inherently dislike and suppress our true nature. So self-love is learning to love that part of us that is our true nature, learning to reclaim and love our authenticity that we were forced to suppress. It is learning who you really are through loving yourself. It's important. How can I connect with my higher self? Meditation, journaling. That's pretty simple. Meditation, journaling, connection. Yeah, but meditation and journaling. What are the benefits of spiritual awakening? Well, I'm a channeler. I am a 21-year-old who has been channeling since she was 18, and helped so many people because I went through my awakening and I discovered my gifts and I chose the path. My circumstance, my story, I've talked about it before. I'm not going to rehash it now, but it's a little bit specific to me. But It's powerful. It's powerful. It will help you feel at peace and happy to be alive. Before my awakening, I didn't want to be alive. When I had my awakening, I just want to be alive. I just want to be here. I want to experience it. I know that my time here is not done. I got lots to do, but I also got plenty of time to do it. Where are we now? Okay. Starting to quickly go through it. How can I maintain spiritual growth after awakening? Well, if you're asking that question, you are. If you're asking that question, you are maintaining spiritual growth. No, it's actually like, I don't even know how to word it. Your spiritual growth is your awakening journey. You will continue to grow. When you go through awakening, it's not like you just magically become enlightened and you're done. You're going to keep growing as a soul until the day you die in this lifetime, and you're going to keep growing after, and you're going to keep growing in the next life. Spiritual growth is never ending. We are beings of life. We are from a eternal plantation, is the term that the Elfian realm uses. We are from the tree of life. We are life, and therefore we are constantly growing. We are constantly growing. It never ends, and that's good. Maybe even if you become an ascended master, you will continue growing. How do I handle the changes that come with spiritual awakening? Believing in yourself, loving yourself, and remembering the bigger picture. It's the best way. I see like my battery running out and the clock running out, so I'm gonna try and simplify my words. What is the role of intuition in spiritual awakening? Spiritual awakening is the awakening of your intuition. Like, genuinely, spiritual awakening is the awakening of your intuition. That's what it is. Like, I mean, yeah, it's the awakening of everything else. It's the awakening of your soul. But, like, the biggest thing it awakens is your intuition. The intuition is the voice of the highest self. How can I find a spiritual mentor or guide? Follow what resonates. I found a lot. Through my card decks, like the card decks that I have, I went and followed the authors. Research, finding what works. Finding what works for you. I will never call myself a spiritual teacher. I don't feel that way. If somebody calls me that and refers to me as that, I will take the compliment. But I think everyone can have a different mentor. Like, for me, it was my mom. But I also don't elevate her to a mentor status. Like, I don't think of her as something unattainable. Like, you gotta be careful with it. Like, seeing them as also part of their journey. I don't call myself that because I don't want anyone to think that I am somehow better, or I did things in the proper way, or I am the right path to follow and you have to follow my journey to a T. No, you can get inspired. My whole point is to spread inspiration. But I think it's just following what resonates with you. And you don't need to have a spiritual mentor necessarily. Luckily I had my mom, but now it's just more of like our relationship is not like mentor-mentee. It's like we are now on the same level. So we are learning from each other. We are, I think I was her biggest lesson. maybe my brother. But we teach each other. That's how life works. We teach each other. So, but finding your spirit guides through connection to your highest self. I started with connection to my guardian angels, and they introduced me to my guides. So that is what I recommend. Start with guardian angels. Start with source, then your highest self, then guardian angels, then your guides. Source will connect you to your highest self will connect you to your guardian angels will connect you to your guides. What is the significance of dreams during spiritual awakening? Oh, dreams are always significant. They're always telling you something. Because I channel, I have had the experience of knowing the importance of dreams because I'm astral projecting when I channel. So I'm shown visuals that hold messages. when we're dreaming at night, our soul is astral projecting and it's doing things. And sometimes we are given messages to remember when we wake up. So dreams are messages. You interpret them, interpret the ones that feel right to you, and they hold messages. They will tell you things. And they're also processing. Like during your awakening, your dreams will be helping you process, helping you heal. I've had very healing dreams before. So it's significant. It's always significant. And lastly, how can I integrate spiritual practices into my daily life? I would say gratitude and affirmations daily, best thing to do. Try journaling. I'm going to be honest, I don't journal every day, but I try. Try meditating every day. Gratitude daily, affirmations daily, connecting to nature daily. Whatever resonates with you. Whatever resonates with you, it's what resonates with you. We are not one size fits all, but I can give like general. Breath work, connecting to your breath daily. I like dancing daily. Feeling joy daily, and just giving some love to myself daily. Sometimes it's just like about looking at the mirror and just seeing like, okay, like I love where I am, I love what I'm doing, I like just loving on yourself, taking care of yourself, self-care daily. 5 minutes a day is all you need. So what my mom would tell me when I started, and I was like, I don't want to meditate, I don't want to sit for hours. She's like, just like, you knew yoga? I can help. Practice on your breath, do yoga. She said just 5 minutes to focus on your breath, quiet the mind, and listen. That's, yeah. Yeah, I spent way more time on the earlier questions, but I guess they kind of answer all of them. The earlier questions kind of just like answer everything. So I hope this was helpful in some way. I felt like I just wanted to do this. And if you have any other questions, maybe I can compile another list. If you have questions about channeling, but yeah, I wish you all luck in your awakening, and it's all your ascension journey, technically. I'm hearing the Alphean Traveler guides, they're going like, guides of ascension, you channel the realm of inspiration. Hello, guides of ascension. Yes, it's all your ascension journey. Spiritual awakening just opens the door for your ascension journey. I'll leave you with one last thing. They've said that there is never a wrong path. There just might sometimes be detours, but you'll always end up where you're meant to be, even if it takes a long time. Even if it takes a few lifetimes, you will end up where you need to be. So don't beat yourself up about being on the right path. Just know you're following what's right for you. And if it doesn't resonate with you, change it. So, that being said, sending you love, light, and inspiration. Stay inspired. Until next time, goodbye for now.